YouTube. Today we're going to have a little bit of revolver fun, and what we're going to talk about today is the 357 Magnum. And before we get started, I'm going to let you know that all these revolvers I have here in front of you have been safety checked. There's no ammunition in them, and if and when I pick them up during the video, I will show you that they are clear. So what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about the best revolver cartridge ever made, and this is my opinion, folks, and if you have a different opinion, that's fine. I'd like to hear it. Let me know what you think. But I think the 357 Magnum is the best revolver cartridge ever made. So let me give you a little history about the 357 Magnum. So the 357 Magnum came out in 1935, and it was introduced by Smith & Wesson. And the reason it came out is mainly because police forces were carrying revolvers and they were carrying .38 specials. Well, back in the 30s, they didn't have the type of ammunition advances that they have today, and the .38 special was sort of a weak round. And they wanted something a little bit more powerful that would knock a man down, and if they had to use kind of deadly force and all that. So Smith & Wesson developed in 1935 the 357 Magnum, and what it was introduced in is a gun called the registered Magnum. And boy, do I wish I had a registered Magnum here in front of you. They're wildly expensive right now to find one of those, but basically what it was a large end frame. Smith & Wesson, it was the largest frame that Smith & Wesson built at the time, and they built that beefy frame to handle the extra pressure of a 357 Magnum cartridge. And the reason they called it the registered Magnum was it was registered. You got a registration card with it, and you could order it any way you want. Any barrel length, I think in 1-inch increments or something like that. Get any kind of sights and grips and different options on them. It was kind of like the custom shop of the 1930s. And the 357 Magnum really became a hit. So what it is it's a lengthened case of a .38 special. They lengthen the case so you can't accidentally slide one in a .38 special only gun. And there's a lot more powder to it. Same exact size projectile as a .38 special. Now, normal conditions, 357 Magnum full load is going to be around a 1,200 to 1,400 feet per second. You know, we're shooting 125 to 158 grain projectile. So it's a pretty hot load, folks. It is nothing to joke about. It is no slouch, and it is a very powerful round. So we have a few of them here in front of us. These are a few of my favorites, and as you can see, I am a big 357 Magnum fan. I just think the versatility that you get with a 357 Magnum is unmatched. So we're going to show you a couple of these. We're going to talk about some of the uses the 357 Magnum will have and some of the advantages and disadvantages to it. So what we have here, we have a Smith & Wesson K-frame. This is a model 66-2. Now, this is what you call a medium frame Smith & Wesson, and these came out, I believe in the 1960s, and the police force really started using this gun. Now, not this particular one. They usually use the Model 19. The difference in a Model 19 and this Model 66 is just it was a blued finish gun. These didn't come out till a little bit later in stainless, and a lot of police forces use the blued version. Now, the problem with this gun is it's such a small gun to be chambered in 357 Magnum, and when you open this up, if you'll look real close right here at the tip of my finger, this forcing cone is very thin. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple rumors in this video that none of this has ever happened to me, but these things have been rumored. When you put a steady, heavy diet all day, every day of 357 Magnum loads through it, this forcing cone has been known to crack on a couple of them. I've never had it happen to myself, but it is out there on the internet, and you know what they say, if it's on the internet, it must be true, folks. But the reason for these things cracking is just that really thin forcing cone. So what the police forces would do is they would have the officers train with .38 special, which I think is a dumb idea because you really need to train with what you're going to be carrying. But they would have them train so it was less stress on the firearm, and then they would load them with 357 Magnums. And some of the police officers would actually load these with .38 special, which is kind of ironic. The whole reason the 357 Magnum exists because the police forces wanted a more powerful round. They wanted to move to something like a 357 Magnum. Magnum. So now they have a 357 Magnum, and they went and moved into using 38 specials in them. But K-frame, very awesome gun. This one's a Target model. It has the Target stocks on it. It has the wide spur Target hammer, and has the wide serrated Target Target trigger on it. So great gun. We'll move on to the next one. Now, when they started having problems with this, with the smaller K-frames, a lot of the police forces went to Colts, and we're going to look at the Cadillac of all of them, the Colt Python. So this is a little bit bigger frame. This is kind of an I-frame in the Colt world, and they moved to the Colt Python because it is a bigger frame than this K-frame. If you look at these side by side, it is a little bit bigger than the K-frame. Now, once we talk about rumors with the Smith & Wesson, there's also rumors going around about these Colt Pythons. They say when you shoot a heavy, steady diet of 357 Magnum through these, they will go out of time. Once again, folks, I've shot thousands of rounds through these old vintage Colt Pythons. I've never had one go out of time, never had any problems with them. But what I can tell you is if you do have any problems with them, these are a little bit more complicated on the inside. But a lot of police forces were using Colt Pythons. It's crazy to think about it now. These older vintage Colt Pythons, the kind of money they bring. I mean, these are some really expensive guns, but policemen used to just stick there and stick these in their holster and wear this beautiful blue finish off of it. It's crazy to think that, but that's what guns are for, folks. They are to be used. And then you go down the road and you have a stainless one. This is probably the better choice if you were going to use something as a duty weapon. This is in bright stainless. If you can see, it's really shiny. It looks almost like a nickel gun, but this is never going to wear because the stainless finish, if you put scratches on it or anything like that, it can be polished out fairly easy. But once again, Colt Python, older version, a little bit bigger frame than the K-frame. Now, what Smith & Wesson did when they seen all these problems with that were supposedly arising with this little K-frame in 1980, what they did is they pretty much copied these Colt Pythons here, and they came out with what they called the L-frame. The L-frame is a little bit bigger than the K-frame that I just showed you on the Model 66. This happens to be a 686 no dash, and the difference in it is it's got a full underlug on it. It's got a little bit beefier frame, just a little bit heavier duty gun. And if you look at the forcing column on this, let me show you up close. It's quite a bit beefier underneath. So these never had any problems with the frames cracking or anything. And once again, a rumor, this is supposed to be stronger than the Colt Python that I just showed you. So these are about the same size if you look at them side by side. This Smith & Wesson was pretty much a copy of the Colt, and then they supposedly made the action a little bit stronger. It's got a full underlug on it, same as the Colt Python and everything. Now, the problem with these is they didn't come out until 1980. Well, around 1980 is when the Glock pistol came out, and the semi-automatic craze was starting with all the police forces around and everything. So these never really caught on to be carry duty weapons, but great gun. I mean, these things are absolutely bulletproof, and literally bulletproof. And I also have one. Whoops, I'm sorry, I picked up the wrong one. I also have one in blue. This is a 586, they call it. Same gun as the one I just showed you, only this one is a round butt one, because a little bit later, this is Dash 4 Smith & Wesson for all the Smith & Wesson connoisseur people. So it's got a round butt, and the one I just showed you, the no dash one, has a square butt. So the grips are a little bit bigger on the square butt one than the round butt. Now, let's talk about this 357 Magnum thing. What can you do with the 357 Magnum? Well, you can carry them. They have snub-nose 357 Magnums that if it's a little bit too hot a recoil, you can put 38 specials in it or 38 special plus Ps in them, which are a little bit more powerful. It's in between a 38 special and a 357 Magnum with, in power-wise. What you can target shoot with them, and if you're target shooting, you can get one of these big old 6-inch models here, and this is a 686 also. This is an L frame. This is a 6-inch one. Now, this is an excellent target gun. It has a target stocks on it. It has target adjustable sights on it. You know, this is just a great gun. So the size of this gun with this long barrel length, it really tames down the recoil quite a bit on it. But the beauty of a 357 Magnum gun is you're really getting two guns in one. So what you can do is, if you're using this for target shooting, you don't need it to be so powerful that it goes through the target, the berm, and the guy's house behind it. So you can tame that down by shooting 38 specials. Number one, it's a lot cheaper to shoot 38 special than it is 357 Magnum. It's a lot easier on the firearm, and it's a lot easier on your body. You know, if you shoot a bunch of 357 Magnums all day long, you know, you're going to feel it in your wrist here eventually. So great target shooting gun. This is mainly what this one is for, with this 6-inch configuration. It's probably a little bit long to be a duty gun. It could be a home defense gun, but mainly this is set up to shoot target loads. So I also have one of those in blue. This is a 586 no dash, kind of like the one I showed you earlier, only this one actually is a square butt one. Around the same year as that one. These are the first release no dash ones. Blue gun, big target stocks, you know, adjustable sights and all that. Great target shooting gun. Now, the 357 Magnum, I just can't say enough about it. When you buy a 357 Magnum, there's nothing you can't do with it. You can conceal carry them if you get the right gun. You can hunt with them if you get if you're in the right area. It will take down probably medium-sized game to small game. You know, you're not going to go grizzly bear hunting with it, but you shouldn't be grizzly bear hunting with any kind of handgun, folks. I don't care what it is. Now, is this better than the 44 Magnum? Well, I believe it is, folks, and this is why. The recoil isn't nearly as bad. It's not that much less powerful than a 44 Magnum, and it will shoot 38 specials, which is readily available in any store. Any gun shop has 38 specials in them. Now, a 44 Magnum will also shoot 44 specials, but 44 specials are a lot harder to find, and usually they cost more than the 44 Magnums, believe it or not, because they're so scarce and they don't really make a lot of it. Now, a lot of people shoot 44 special. If you're going to grab that big old 44 Magnum gun, probably just going to shoot Magnums out of it. But when you buy one of these, the cheaper ammo, the 38 special, and the 357 Magnum hot stuff is available in any source. Probably the most popular revolver cartridge that there is on the earth, and it's probably the most widely produced cartridge on the earth in revolvers. So do I think the 357 Magnum is the best revolver cartridge? I absolutely do. And as you can see, I got quite a few of them. This isn't even all of them that I have. This is just some of the examples that I wanted to show you here on this video. But anyway, folks, let me know what you think about the 357 Magnum. I know a lot of people think about the Smith & Wesson pre-locks, and that's what these are, and a lot of the Colt people are going to go with the Colt Python, thinking that's the King 357 Magnum, when Smith & Wesson was actually responsible for bringing out the 357 Magnum. So if you're a Colt guy like me, let's start a little war here. I like both of them, folks, but if you're a Colt guy like me, you can say that Smith & Wesson invented the 357 Magnum, and Colt perfected it. Let me know what you think about what I just said, and let me know what you think about the 357 Magnum. Is it the best revolver cartridge ever made? You decide. Thank you very much, folks, for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.